Let me ask you something. Do you know who your congressman is? Not your senator, not your president, not whatever talking head is screaming at you on your TV right now. Your congressman. The person who represents your specific neighborhood, your specific zip code in the United States House of Representatives. If you hesitated, you're not alone. And honestly, that hesitation is one of the biggest problems in American politics right now. Here's the thing they don't tell you in civics class: the president gets all the attention, but Congress is where your life actually gets decided. Healthcare costs, Congress. Your kids' school funding, Congress. The price of your insulin, Congress. What happens when a hurricane rips through your neighborhood and FEMA shows up or doesn't, Congress. These 435 men and women have the power to tax you, fund your roads, regulate your food, set your drug prices, declare war, and determine whether the government stays open or shuts down. They are the most powerful legislative body on the planet. And right now, they are doing almost nothing with that power. I'm not being hyperbolic. The current Congress has passed fewer meaningful pieces in legislation than almost any Congress in modern American history. They show up, they fundraise, they go on the cable news, they perform outrage, and then they go home. The body that is supposed to be the engine of American democracy has become a theater trope, a very expensive, very dysfunctional theater trope. And we're all buying the tickets whether we want to or not. But here's what's coming, and this is important. The 2026 midterms are right around the corner this November. Every single house in the House of Representatives is up for election. Every single one. That means the people who are currently running out the clock, who have turned gridlock into a career, who have looked at a broken healthcare system, a housing crisis, an assurance crisis, and a struggling class, and decide that their job was to tweet about it, not to fix it. Those people are going to come back to your door and ask for another 2 years. And you get to say yes or no, but only if you know who they are, only if you know what they stand for, only if you've done your homework. That's why conversation matters. I sat down with a man who's running right here in Florida's 21st district, a fourth generation Floridian, a paramedic who has spent his career showing up when people are at their lowest, and he's running precisely because he looked at what Washington has become and decided it wasn't good enough. His name is Bernard Taylor. Whether you agree with everything he says or not, I for sure don't. This is exactly the kind of conversation every American should be having right now about who's running, why they're running, what they actually believe, and whether they've earned your vote. Because an election isn't a spectator sport, it's not a team jersey you wear on a TV show you watch, it's a job interview, and you're the only one doing the hiring. So let's get into it. Okay, so how has the campaign trail been so far? When I last interviewed you, it was towards the beginning of the campaign. Has it gotten more busy, more stressful? What's it like?
It's definitely gotten more busy. It's actually gotten more fun. As we get closer to primary elections and general elections, you start to see more people paying attention, more people getting involved and asking questions, and trying to learn who I am and the things that I want to do and what I'm about. And it's been very fun just having conversations and being in the community and getting to know people and getting to know some of the things and concerns that they have. So I've enjoyed it. It's truly been a humbling experience just being able to build all these relationships and talk with so many people around the community.
Yeah, and right now I think many Americans are feeling that Congress has been kind of useless. Uh, what are steps that you'll take to reach across the aisle and hopefully reach compromise on the issues directly affecting Americans?
I think one of the biggest things we have to do is make sure that our Congress is actually working for the American public and not necessarily for the donors to their campaigns. I think we need some reforms through Congress. I think we need to address the Citizens United decision. I think we need to think about term limits for our congressional representation. whether that's in the House of Representatives and in the Senate as well, and even through the judicial branch. I think right now, the way things are set up is too, it makes for our representatives to be too vulnerable to potential corruption. So I think we need to address those issues to start with so that we can actually get towards working towards those agreements and those bipartisan compromises that are actually for the American people and not necessarily for, a certain class of people in this country.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the term limits thing. What do you think is like a correct stop? How long do you think that should be the term limit?
I think in the House of Representatives, it should be no more than 4 terms. That's 8 years. That's the length of
Hmm.
a presidency. And I think in the Senate, it shouldn't be no more than 2 terms. So that's 12 years. I think that's more than sufficient enough. After a decade, if you can't get what you want done, give somebody else another chance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Brian Mass has done 5 terms, which I think is kind of excessive. Um, how do you feel about his time in office?
Well, when you look at Congressman Mass and you look at his voting record in terms of what he has done for the people in this district, out of all the things that he has done in terms of voting legislation, most of it is very symbolic things. A couple post offices have been renamed. The airport down in Palm Beach is being renamed as we speak. He had um, partaken in the bipartisan infrastructure bill in order to get a study done towards Everglades restoration and eventually figuring out what was causing our waterways to be so dirty. But that's it. It's a study. It's a research paper, pretty much. It hasn't really led to any action in terms of his
Hmm.
record on the environmental aspects of our district. In the year 2024, I believe he got a 0 in terms of his environmental score among the environmental caucus, and overall, I think he has a 16% effectiveness rate in terms of the environment in his 10 years being in office. And, in any other profession in the world, if you got a 16% effectiveness rate, you don't have a job anymore. But for some reason, we keep sending this person back to represent us when he has shown over a decade that he's not been effective for the people here on the Treasure Coast.
Yeah, and I think that's mainly the sentiment with many people here in Florida's 21st district. We're sick of, the constant recurring cycle of not having anything done that will actually help us, any action. Um, what are some things that you're thinking of doing once getting in office?
Well, I want to address some of the main things that are plaguing people here in our district and people in Florida overall. When you think in terms of affordability and the housing crisis here in Florida, rents are sky high. Chances of buying a home for young people and old people just seem to be drifting further away. So I want to attack the corporation and hedge fund problem that we're having. These corporations like BlackRock coming down and buying up all the homes here and pricing
Hmm.
us out of the housing market and taking up all the inventory. I think we need to really look at instituting things like a bulk tax on bulk purchases of these companies so we can keep some of this inventory on the market, and then also establishing a right of first refusal, not even letting them be able to purchase these homes for up to a year, allowing the people in the community a chance to buy these homes and keep the prices down and eventually keep the rents down. I think we really need to look at the environment and look at cleaning up the lake. Lake Okeechobee was voted the dirtiest lake in America last year, and we are still dealing with algae blooms. We're still dealing with pollution and runoff that is, making its way down here to the Treasure Coast. I recently saw a news story the other day about a cancer cluster that has been discovered, a rare form of cancer that people are getting right here in St. Lucie County. And no one can figure out why. And no one wants to look at potential environmental impacts because it will affect, the big sugar industry and the development and all these things that are happening that cause pollution into the lake that makes its way down here. Not to mention being next to a nuclear power plant here in St. Lucie County as well. So actually looking into these things and being able to solve problems and wanting to do right by people. And then addressing healthcare. We have a huge senior population here on the Treasure Coast. Um, a lot of them have lost their health care over the last year and a half due to some of the policies that have been put in place. A lot of them are starting to ration off their medicine, things like insulin and blood pressure pills, because they simply can't afford it, and it's costing people their lives. And I don't feel like, being able to afford medicine should be the difference between you living and you not being here anymore. So I think we really need to attack those three things, because those are the three issues that I hear about a lot as I'm out here on the campaign trail.
Yeah, and um last time we spoke, you mentioned being a husband and a father of five. How does your family life influence the issues that you're fighting for, especially around healthcare costs and education?
It's literally just wanting to see a future for my kids and for all young people. Right now, my oldest son, he just graduated high school, so he's going to be starting college in the fall, and 4 years from now, just kind of looking out to what is waiting for him in the world, and it looks bleak at times. Being able to tell him you'll be able to do anything you want, or be able to be able to live on your own, or be able to afford to live on your own. With the current trajectory of things, I just don't feel like that is possible once he graduates high school. And then he's the oldest, and I got four more coming right behind him. So I want to make sure that the world and the future, that is a future that is built for them to thrive and built for all young people to thrive. And right now, talking to young people out here on the trail that are graduating college, and that are trying to establish themselves in life, it's truly disheartening, some of the conversations that I have, to see young people that don't feel like they have a home here in Florida, they can build a home here in Florida. I love where I grew up, and I'm a fourth generation Floridian, and I love being down here. I love everything the state has to offer, and I hate to hear young people leaving our state, or potentially think about leaving the state, because they just simply can't afford it.
And home insurance is also a big issue. What's your plan to tackle that?
I think in terms of homeowners insurance, I think we need to institute or think about looking at how we can possibly develop a sovereign wealth fund here in the state of Florida to take on the burden of natural disaster relief. I think what caused a lot of the insurance companies to leave was about 4 or 5 years ago. We had a series of back-to-back hurricanes that devastated the southwest portion of Florida, and it literally drove insurance companies out of the state because so many claims were being filed and not even being accepted. A lot of them were being denied, and some of those people are still without rules, and looking for relief on their home. I think if we can actually develop that fund to be able to take the burden off insurance companies in terms of natural disasters, I think that would not only lower insurance prices, but I think that will also draw more insurance companies to come back to Florida, which would in turn drive those prices down as well.
Yeah, and um, what kind of what kind of representative do you want to be? Do you want to be mainly in DC like Brian Mast is, or here on the ground in Florida?
No, man, I'm gonna be home in Florida, man. I don't do cold weather. And DC got snow. So as much as I can be in
Yeah.
Florida, I plan on being home, man. I plan on being in DC the less amount of time as possible, to be honest with you, man. I feel like there's more work to be done in the communities. I'll be in DC when it's time to be there as far as votes and when I need to be there, but I'm not just gonna be up there to be hanging around. I want to be home. I want to be among the community. I want to know what's going on the ground so I can figure out how to fix things.
Do you think that's one of Brian Mast's biggest faults is being more in DC and not really in tune with the local news here and what's actually happening here in our district, or do you think he's had a good balance on?
I definitely don't think he's had a good balance. When you talk to the constituents and people in the community, I think he's had like one town hall in the past, decade, one series of town halls. So, it is not, in terms of talking with the community and talking with constituents. They don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, and they don't feel like he is present enough for them to be able to reach out to him. So I definitely don't think he has prioritized the people here in this district. When you look at his career trajectory from where he started to where he is now as the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, it seems as though he's probably more so someone looking to continue to climb the political ladder as opposed to being a representative for the people that elected him.
Yeah, and how do you feel about his comments on the House floor about the situation in Gaza? It's been quite controversial. He said there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian. What's your stance on that whole situation?
It shows a lack of empathy, and it kind of shows a lack of humanity in my eyes. Regardless how you feel about a certain group of people or a certain situation, there's no excuse to have a lack of empathy or show a lack of humanity for any other person in this world. Again, regardless how you feel about them, those are innocent, women and children being killed and being maimed and being all sorts of horrific things that they are experiencing. And even if you stand on the side of the people that are opposing them, you can at least have some empathy or show some decent shred of humanity. That represents what would truly feel, because I know that there are good people down here.
And you've taken zero APAC money, correct?
That's correct. We've taken
I think
zero
we
APAC
lost you.
money, zero APAC money, zero corporate. We are 100% grassroots funded.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's on the rise with newer congressional candidates. We've seen so many people and even previous congressional candidates and people who were in office, quote, wage war on APAC. What's your view on their funding of, I'm pretty sure it's like 85% of all people in Congress?
Well, that's the thing. When you put together any pack, any type of pack, you putting that political action committee together to influence things in your favor. Whether that's APAC, whether that's the oil industry, whether that's the pharmaceutical industry, whether that's you know the military industrial complex, like all those different political action committees, they're giving campaigns and giving money for influence. They're not doing this just so out of the kindness of their heart. So it's why, again, I don't want to be beholden to any one of these interest groups. I don't want to be beholden to any corporations. I don't want to be beholden to basing my decisions and basing my policies on another foreign government influencing me because of the money that they give me. That's just not the kind of representative that I want to be, which is why, again, we stay away from all that type of funding, because we only want to be beholden to people here in the district, people here in Florida Congressional District 21.
So you're running for the Democratic primary right now. What are you, once gotten that, what are you going to do to try and get Republican voters or right-leaning voters to vote for you rather than Brian Mast?
So it's funny, as I'm out here on the campaign trail, most of the people I talk with are Republicans and independents, to be quite honest with you, man. And a lot of them are expressing the same things that most people are expressing, just frustration that a representative that is really not doing things for them. And I just, again, when I'm out here and I'm having conversations, I'm speaking to people where they are. I'm talking about the issues that they care about, and I'm keeping the focus there. A lot of people tend to agree on making things more affordable, making healthcare available for everyone, making sure that we are doing something about our waterways and actually cleaning up the environment. When I'm keeping the focus there, when we're keeping the focus on the main thing, it tends to always leave these conversations with people willing to vote for me or willing to support what I'm trying to do. Not waiting until fringe topics, but literally focusing on the things that unite us instead of trying to focus on the things that keep us all divided. I think if more people actually did that and actually ran on those things, we could get real good candidates regardless of political party in these offices. But because again you have the power structure the way that it is, it's very hard for people like myself who just want to try to come up with solutions that help everyone to get into these spaces.
Do you think Trump's endorsement of Mast will carry any weight on Republicans here or no?
Negative. We've seen over the past year, these endorsements in terms of a general election have not worked out in their favor. when you just look at the numbers in terms of his endorsed candidates in their general elections. So I don't think that that is actually something that's going to work out in his favor like it would have in the past because of all the policies and how they have affected everyday average Americans over the past year.
And it doesn't really seem like he's doing much campaigning, Brian Mast. Do you think that's do you think he's taking the endorsement as, a sign that he'll win, or I'm just confused on why he's not campaigning, like,
So
at
he doesn't
all.
have a primary. So he doesn't have a primary. He's running as an unopposed incumbent in terms of his party. So he really doesn't have to start campaigning until after our primary, August 18th. So he knows who his opponent is going to be. He's right now, when you look at his campaign war chest, he's sitting on a couple $1 million. So when the time comes, he'll be ready to run a bunch of ads, and he'll be out in the places to get the photo ops and all those things. When you've been elected for 10 years and you've been not relatively close in these elections. Like a lot of them have just kind of been blowouts, and it breeds a level of arrogance at times. And we're hoping that that arrogance comes back to bite them in the end. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what the people say come November 3rd. If I'm fortunate enough to be the nominee after August 18th, I think that arrogance might come back to bite.
What do you think of Trump's second term so far? Last time we spoke, you had gone down to Alligator Alcatraz and you had seen the conditions there. What are your thoughts on the immigration policies right now and just overall?
I think we've started to see a lot of pull back on some of the more extreme measures that they were taking about a year ago. If you look at the numbers, they kind of slowed down as well. He's actually reversed pivot on a lot of things in terms of the H-1B visas, in terms of the undocumented immigrants coming across for agricultural reasons in the farmlands after getting pushed back by farmers in Nebraska and Iowa and Kansas and certain those places. You start to see him publicly come out and talk about pathways to workers' visas and citizenships and things of that nature, because I think he got a lot of pushback and blowback from those farmers and from some of those industries out there that are his base of voters. Um, you don't see a lot of the extreme videos that were coming out. People being taken out of courtrooms when they were coming to their immigration hearings. So I think it's been a little bit better in terms of how things have been seen publicly. Um, but when you look at what he set out to do, what him and his administration set out to do was deport, I think, like 10 or 20 million people. They are far behind on pace for that. Um, the border is secure, according to the administration. I think in terms of his supporters, I think they are probably a little bit disappointed with how immigration is going. I think they expected a lot more people to be deported than they actually are. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how this continues to go. I think as we get closer to the general election, you'll probably start to see them ramp up with some of those things as well, because immigration is a hot button issue in this country.
All right, quick break, and I want to talk to you about something that actually fits what we're doing today. One of the things that frustrates me most about the current political moment is how loving this country has somehow become a partisan statement. Like you're supposed to pick a side, and then only that side gets to wave the flag. That's not America, that's a bumper sticker. And the people at It's Cool to Love America get that. This isn't a left or a right thing. It's an American thing. It's the idea that you can be proud of this country, believe in what it's supposed to stand for, and still hold it accountable when it falls short. In fact, that's exactly what loving it looks like. They make gear, hats, shirts, accessories that lets you rep that without it being a political statement, just a statement that you give a damn. Head over to itscooltoloveamerica.com and use my code Cameron at checkout to get a discount on your order. Wear it to the polls this November, wear it to your town hall, wear it when you're knocking on doors or just sitting at your kitchen table doing the homework to figure out who deserves your vote. Because it is cool to love America. What isn't cool is sitting on the sidelines while other people decide what it looks like. It's cooltoloveamerica.com, code KAMERON, Cameron, to get 10% off your first order. And how do you feel about the overall corruption within his second term? We saw the UFC event. It was sponsored by many of the companies that he's heavily invested in. We've seen Don Jr. invest in Fulcrum Elements, which it got $6 billion loan from the Pentagon. We've also seen everything with Jared Kushner in the Middle East. How do you feel about the overall corruption in this administration and more broadly in Congress?
Well, I'm glad that more people are open to seeing everything that's going on. You're kind of open to how corrupt our government can be. This is just a level of blatant corruption that is on another level in terms of a person enriching themselves through the office of the presidency. I don't think, just to be honest with you, I don't think there will be much that we can do once his term is over, being that he has the power to grant, pardons and immunity. So I think we're all witness to a bank robbery that we can't do anything about, and that there probably won't be any consequences for it in terms of him personally. Maybe some of the people in his administration or some of the people that have partaken in this will be held responsible when the time comes. But unfortunately, just the pessimist in me is literally just seeing this as our treasury being robbed and our country being robbed blind, while we are all witnesses to it. Unfortunately,
Yeah, and here's the last question, and then I'll let you go. What's one thing you wish more people understood about the realities first responders see every day that Washington often misses?
uh, just you know, I literally see some of the worst things that society has to offer. I see some of the worst conditions that people are living in. I see how legislation that gets passed impacts communities and impacts people. And it's hard to disregard or ignore it when it's put in your face as much as it is being in my career profession. And it comes a point in time where you just get tired of seeing it happening, knowing why it's happening, and knowing that there are people that are not actively looking to fix things or engage in things that are going to be better for people. Which is one of the reasons why I got in this race. If the people that we put to represent us are not going to do anything to address these problems or address these issues, then it's up to people like myself and others around the country who are willing to step up to the plate and be those voices and be those people that are going to stand up with integrity and morality and try to do the things the right way, and build those relationships and build those bipartisan solutions that will help each and every one of us in this country.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you're the right guy for the job here in Florida, District 21. Uh, Not a fan of Brian Mast whatsoever.
I wish I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody say that. I think this campaign would be doing very well in terms of fundraising.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, and I'm glad we were able to catch you on the campaign trail.
Appreciate you, man. I'm happy you as a young person is taking this thing very seriously, and you're looking to be informed, and you're looking to try to figure out and find solutions for how to make things better, because it's going to be your generation and my generation that determines where this country goes next, man. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep reading. Keep learning. Keep trying to keep yourself as informed as you possibly can.